Hey guys, welcome back to Joan. Thanks so much for clicking and it means a lot that you guys keep clicking. If you guys keep clicking, I'll keep making. And today we're talking about this episode. Tons of stuff happened. We had a pretty big blindside, at least comparatively to the last two vote outs. And I do think overall that this season is shaping up to have a pretty fun merge episode and overall post merge. So let's get into it. If you haven't already, like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff because it's free, it's easy, and it really helps the channel out. Okay, so we open up with Carson coming back and explaining to us why he flipped, or he really doesn't give the best explanation, but I guess his explanation, quote unquote, is just that he wanted him to make a big move and be chaotic, as he says. And Sarah is not happy. Sarah's the only person left out. Now, she couldn't vote, but it was her, Helen, and Carson as far as she knew. And so she's pretty blindsided. Carolyn and Yam Yam are very happy. It seems like they are really close. And Carson isn't regretting it as much as trying to smooth things over with Sarah. Now, it's very similar to what happened on the Orange Tribe after that first tribal, where Kane, to me, is Carson in this situation, trying to kind of smooth things over. Now, obviously for very different reasons, particularly that Carson's in a much better spot here. But nonetheless, it's still very, very similar because while Kane was kind of begging Brandon to forgive him and it wasn't working and Brandon didn't trust Kane, same thing here. Carson's like, we're like still good, Sarah, this and that. I still want to work with you. And Sarah's like, no, although she lies to his face. And she tells us in her confessional, he's a snake, he's the best player, and he needs to go eventually. Over on the Orange Tribe, we get a bit of a camp life scene where Kane is kind of being goofy and having fun, even though he's on the bottom of the tribe. Brandon is the provider. He seems to be catching fish for that tribe. Over on the Green Tribe, we see Matt and Franny continue to isolate themselves, and Claire is saying, what are you guys doing? And they're making themselves a huge target and really easy first two boots, or at least the first targets for a potential future tribal council. But Danny is being very mischievous on their tribe. So Danny has found their idol from the cage, and he now has this fake idol, and so he hides it around camp. And turns out Matt stumbles upon it. He's excited. Matt's like, I got this. I have power to save me and Franny. And of course, Danny goes and checks and sees that it's gone. So then he goes and presses Matt publicly in front of Josh and says, dude, what'd you put in your pants? I saw you. Matt denies it at first, but then goes and tells both Josh and Danny individually that he did find it. This then gets out to the rest of the tribe eventually, with Danny telling his ally in Heidi, and then Matt telling Franny. So basically the entire tribe knows now, and I do think Claire also finds out. And Matt is kind of screwed over. He has this secret idol, and then it gets exposed to the entire tribe, and Danny gets every single person off his trail who may have thought that he found it. Over on the Orange Tribe, we see Jamie essentially just eating worms. She's like, oh, I'm hungry, I want protein, and so she's eating worms. It's a funny scene. And then she goes to look for more worms or protein with Gathu. Gathu points to a crack. She looks, and there's an idol in there. They're both ecstatic. They're just like celebrating, saying, yes, like we found it. We're like close allies. But then Gathu tells us that this is actually a fake idol that he made after he found the real idol 2 days ago. See, he found it because they re-hid Brandon's idol, and instead of re-hiding it in the cage, they essentially just re-hid the idol around the island. So there is no more cage on their tribe. They just re-hid that same idol. I'm curious to see if it looks the same or if this is a completely different looking idol. But Gathu has the idol and pulled the exact same trick that Danny did. The difference is that Danny tried to expose Matt for it, whereas Gathu is trying to keep Jamie as an ally with it. But he does tell us that if Jamie gets out of line, he can always expose her and basically ruin her entire game. So both Gathu and Danny are playing very, very good games right now. At the challenge, it's kind of funny because there's a few things that actually are of note, even though I never talk about challenges, especially in this new era with them all basically being the exact same. There's some interesting stuff here that happens. Okay, so for one, Claire sits out for the third immunity challenge in a row. Jeff kind of calls her out and she says, well, I'm just trying to help the team because she feels like she's the weakest player. So she doesn't want to hold her team back. On top of that, at the end, the Orange Tribe wins first, and it's basically just a race to see who can copy their puzzle the quickest. The purple tribe does so, and the green tribe is sent to tribal. Danny and Josh discussed splitting votes between Claire, their target, and Matt, a decoy, in the interest of keeping their tribe strong. That plan was communicated to Heidi and Franny as well. Josh didn't necessarily want to vote Claire out, but he also didn't want to rock the boat, so he decided to just go in the direction of everybody else. Franny was not keen to sending Claire home, so she began to campaign to sway Claire away from Matt and towards Josh instead, also to save her boyfriend. Her argument was that Josh cannot be trusted as much as Matt, and to get Claire on her side, Matt and Franny told Claire that Josh and Danny were targeting her. The three of them knew that Matt couldn't vote, so in order to get Josh out, they would need Heidi. Heidi was the main swing vote. Claire was the one to go to Heidi with the plan, but Heidi was very clear with Claire that she wasn't sure which direction that she would go. Because Heidi was dodging, Claire knew that she might need to play her shot in the dark at tribal. Feeling like Danny is her number one ally, Heidi didn't want to make that decision without being on the same page. And so she admitted that her strategic relationship with Josh is not that great, she being Heidi. But she was concerned that they'd miss out on Josh's challenge strength if Claire stays in the game. So at this point, you really have Danny's crowd and Claire's crowd. Danny has Josh and Heidi as his main allies, and then of course Claire has the couple in Franny and Matt as her allies. But the issue is Matt can't vote, so now Heidi needs to flip over. And it's really curious because Heidi doesn't really seem to be that close to Danny, but as the episode progresses, we do see how close they are. And at the water well, basically both sides meet with Heidi and they say, hey, we're like not gonna do a 2 to 3 vote where it's all split down the middle. You tell us where you're going and we'll all vote that way. They all decide to vote out Claire here. Claire plays her shot in the dark at tribal. It does not work. She is not safe. And the vote is 4-0 with Matt not voting and Claire not voting. Claire goes home here. Big blindside. People on Twitter are absolutely furious because, Claire going marks the third female in a row to start the season to go. They're calling it sexist and also racist because apparently Maddie's a POC now. So now it's 3 women POCs in a row. Twitter is not happy, and so that's going to be tomorrow's video topic. Stay tuned. But what do you guys think? Let me know down below in the comments. As always, none of this happens without you guys. Without you guys, I'm just a real guy speaking over the microphone. That's what I'll talk to you guys in the next one.